The digital dopamine law. Your phone is not just a device, it is a slot machine in your pocket. Have you ever noticed how pulling down on your phone's screen feels exactly like pulling the lever on a slot machine in Las Vegas? Every time you refresh, every time you swipe down, you're not just looking for updates, you're playing a game of chance. You don't know what's coming next, but your brain knows there might be something exciting. A new message, a like, a headline that feels urgent. Scientists call this the variable reward schedule, an unpredictable pattern that keeps you hooked longer than any predictable system ever could. It's the same principle that's kept gamblers at slot machines for hours chasing a win that may never come. Researchers at Stanford found that our brains release more dopamine when the reward is uncertain than when it's guaranteed. That means your phone doesn't just deliver information, it delivers anticipation. And anticipation is the drug that keeps you coming back. You tell yourself you're just checking your phone, but minutes pass, then half an hour, and somehow you've wandered into a feed you didn't plan to scroll, chasing that next small hit of pleasure. This is not about a lack of willpower. It's about a system designed to bypass your willpower entirely. Notifications are not simply alerts. They're invitations to gamble with your attention. Here's the danger: when your brain learns to seek out quick bursts of dopamine from your phone, it starts to struggle with long-term focus. Reading a book feels harder. Sitting in silence feels uncomfortable. Deep work becomes a battle. And just when you think you've learned to resist, when you believe you've taken back control, another trap is already waiting. Because in the digital casino, the house always wins, unless you learn how to walk away. Number 2, the overload effect. Imagine standing in a quiet room, holding a single glass of water. You know exactly what you are holding. You can feel its weight. You can decide whether to drink it or put it down. Now imagine the same moment, but this time you are under a waterfall. Water crashes on your head, fills your hands, blinds your eyes. You are still holding the glass, but it no longer matters. You cannot focus on it. You cannot even see it clearly. This is what constant information overload does to the human mind. When every spare second is filled with headlines, updates, messages, and breaking news banners, your brain is not processing, it is drowning. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your mind responsible for decision-making, slows under the weight of too much input. You begin making choices not based on clarity, but on impulse. Stanford research calls it decision fatigue. The more your brain spends energy filtering noise, the less it has for real decisions. That is why after a day online you feel too tired to cook, too scattered to read, too numb to think. In the early days of the internet, information was rare enough to be valuable. Now scarcity has been replaced by a flood. Your phone does not just give you what you ask for, it pours an endless stream into your life whether you asked or not. The cruel irony is that in a world of infinite information, wisdom becomes harder to find, because wisdom requires space, and space is exactly what the overload steals. If you have ever felt your mind buzzing, your patience gone, your focus fractured into 1,000 small pieces, that is not just stress. That is the overload effect. And it is by design. The platforms are not built for you to think. They are built for you to consume until you no longer notice the difference between choice and reflex. And when you can no longer tell, the stream decides for you. Number 3, the infinite scroll trap. It looks harmless at first, just a list of posts, videos, or images. You reach the bottom. Except there is no bottom. One swipe leads to another, and another. The feed reshapes itself in real time, keeping you in motion, keeping you from leaving. This is not a mistake in design. It is the design. The infinite scroll was first introduced in 2006. Its inventor admitted it was built to keep people engaged far longer than they intended. The logic is simple. If there is no natural stopping point, your brain will not receive the time to stop signal. Instead, it falls into a low-grade trance, scanning for something better, something new, even if you do not know what you are looking for. Psychologists call this a variable reward system. Your mind becomes a gambler pulling a slot machine handle with each flick of your thumb. Sometimes you see something interesting. Sometimes you do not. But the possibility keeps you hooked. The damage is subtle. You lose track of time. You forget why you even opened the app. You skip meals, ignore tasks, delay sleep. Hours dissolve into pixels. The worst part, you think you are in control. But the moment you enter the scroll, your agency starts to erode. You are not exploring, you are being led. The algorithm learns from each flick, shaping the next set of posts to keep you there just a little longer. And just like a casino, the house always wins. Digital minimalism does not mean deleting every app. It means recognizing when the game is being played on you. It means drawing the stop lines yourself, because the feed will never do it for you. When you step away from infinite scroll, you feel it instantly, the sudden silence, the return of your own thoughts. It feels unnatural at first, like you are missing something. But what you are really doing is reclaiming the ability to choose when the story ends. Because if you do not, the scroll will choose for you, and it never ends well. Number 4, the notification illusion. It begins with a single sound, a chime, a vibration. Your phone lights up and your attention shifts instantly, no matter what you are doing. You tell yourself it is urgent, you tell yourself it is important, but most of the time, it is neither. Notifications are not just reminders, they are hooks. Each one is a tiny pull engineered to interrupt your focus and redirect it toward the app. Psychologists call this trigger-based engagement. The app does not wait for you to decide when to use it, it decides for you. The illusion is that you are staying informed. In reality, you are being conditioned. Every ping releases a small dose of dopamine, the same chemical involved in addiction. Your brain begins to anticipate the sound, even when it is not there. You check your phone in empty elevators, at red lights, in the middle of conversations, not because you need to, but because you might have a reward waiting. Over time, this constant drip of interruptions changes the shape of your days. Deep work becomes impossible. Conversations are fractured. You feel busy, but accomplish less. The danger is subtle. Notifications pull you out of the present moment so often that being present starts to feel foreign. Digital minimalism does not demand that you cut yourself off from the world. It asks you to flip the control. What if you decided when to open your phone instead of letting your phone decide for you? What if every notification was silent and only the truly urgent could reach you? The first days feel strange. You wonder what you are missing. But soon you realize you are missing nothing and gaining everything. Focus returns. Conversations deepen. Time slows back down. The truth is, most of what you think is urgent can wait. The rest of it is noise dressed as importance. And when you silence the noise, you finally hear your own life again. Number 5, the myth of multitasking. We have been sold a lie. A beautiful, convincing lie that doing many things at once makes us more efficient. You answer emails while sitting in a meeting. You check your messages while cooking. You scroll through the news while talking to a friend. It feels like productivity. It feels like speed. But the science is brutally clear. Multitasking is not faster. It is slower. Each time your brain switches from one task to another, it burns energy. It has to unpack the context of what you were doing and load the context of the new task. This switching cost is invisible, but it drains your focus like a slow leak in a tire. Researchers call it attention residue. When you split your attention, a part of your mind stays stuck on the previous task, even when you think you have moved on. That residue reduces the quality of your work, the depth of your thinking, and the clarity of your memory. But the real danger is deeper. Multitasking teaches your brain to be restless, to crave constant change, to reject stillness. And once that habit sets in, even when you have nothing urgent to do, you will feel compelled to check switch and start something else. Digital minimalism is not about doing less. It is about doing one thing fully. It is about reclaiming the lost art of single-tasking, the ability to immerse yourself so deeply in one activity that time disappears. Start small. Try turning off all other tabs when you write. Put your phone in another room when you read. Notice how your mind protests at first, as if it is missing out on something vital. But then slowly the resistance fades and you enter a flow state. In that state, work feels lighter, reading feels richer, conversations feel more alive. You discover that focus is not a skill you lost forever, it is a muscle you simply stopped training. The truth is, you were never meant to be everywhere at once. You were meant to be here, fully. And that is where your best work and your best life will always be waiting. Number 6. The silent power of saying no. Every yes you say is a contract for your time, your energy, your attention. And yet, most of us sign these contracts without reading the fine print. You agree to join another group chat. You accept another social media invite. You commit to another project, another meeting, another quick call that is never quick. Each yes feels harmless in the moment, but over time they stack up like invisible debts. In the digital world, saying yes is effortless, a click, a tap, a quick reply. Saying no, however, feels heavy. You worry about disappointing others, missing opportunities, appearing rude. So you avoid it. You keep saying yes. But here's the paradox. Every yes you give to something unimportant is a no you are giving to something vital. When you fill your calendar with noise, there is no room for the music. Digital minimalism is the discipline of filtering those yeses. It is learning to pause before committing. To ask, does this truly matter to me, or is this just another shiny distraction? Saying no is not rejection. It is protection. It is the act of guarding the life you want to live against the life that others want you to live. When you say no to the unnecessary, you say yes to depth, focus, and freedom. This is not easy. At first, no feels uncomfortable, like a door closing, but soon you realize each no is also a door opening somewhere else. The space you create becomes a sanctuary, a place where your mind can breathe. Try this for 1 week. Delay your yes. When someone asks for your time or attention, tell them you will think about it. Give yourself space to decide. You will be shocked at how many requests fade away on their own. In the quiet left behind, you will find the beginnings of clarity. You will realize that your time is not just a resource, it is your life. And no one else should spend it for you. The digital world will never stop asking, but you can stop answering. That is the silent power of no. Number 7. Escaping the trap of infinite scrolling. It starts innocently. You pick up your phone for a quick check. Just one video, one article, one post. But the feed never ends. You keep scrolling and the hours dissolve without you noticing. Infinite scrolling is the perfect trap. It was designed to be. There is no natural stopping point, no page to turn, no chapter to close. It lures you in with variety, then locks you in with unpredictability. The same psychological hook used in slot machines. The tragedy is not just the time you lose, it is the life you do not live while you are scrolling. The walks you never take, the conversations you never start, the ideas you never let yourself think because your mind is always filled with something someone else posted. Digital minimalism does not mean deleting all your apps overnight. It means breaking the loop. It means noticing the moment you pick up your phone without a purpose and stopping. It means putting friction back into the system. Set boundaries the way you would set a fence around a garden. Decide on specific times to check your feed and keep it outside the hours that matter most to you. Use timers, use app blockers, or make the habit inconvenient. Delete the app from your home screen so you have to search for it. Every scroll you resist is a small victory. It is one more moment you give back to yourself. One more chance to choose what you will think about instead of letting an algorithm decide for you. Imagine what you could do with the 2 hours a day you spend scrolling. That is 14 hours a week, 728 hours a year. Enough to learn a new language, write a book, or start a business. That time is already yours. You are just giving it away. The world will keep building infinite feeds, but you do not have to keep feeding them your life. Step out of the loop, and you will see that the world outside your screen is the only feed worth following. Number 8. The illusion of productivity. You are busy, always busy. Checking emails, replying to messages, updating lists, saving articles to read later. The day feels full, but at the end you cannot point to anything meaningful you have created. This is the illusion of productivity. It tricks you into thinking motion is the same as progress. That because your fingers are typing, your mind is engaged, you must be getting somewhere. But you are running on a digital treadmill, sweating, moving, yet staying in the same place. The internet is an endless buffet of productive tasks. You can plan, organize, research, compare, brainstorm, and yet without intention it becomes busy work. You are filling time instead of filling your life. Digital minimalism forces you to ask a simple but uncomfortable question. Does this move me closer to what matters? Or does it just make me feel busy? The difference is subtle. Writing a draft for your book moves you forward. Reading 5 articles about how to write better can be a form of hiding. Answering an urgent client email is progress. Clearing your inbox at midnight is just activity disguised as accomplishment. To break the illusion, track the outcomes, not the hours. Ask yourself each morning, what are the 3 most important things I want to have done by tonight? Then guard your attention fiercely. Every time you switch to another productive distraction, you steal energy from what really matters. This is not about working more. It is about working less, but working real. 5 hours of true focus can be worth more than 50 hours of scattered attention. The world will not remember how fast you replied to every message, but it will remember what you built when you stopped chasing notifications and started chasing meaning. Busyness is easy. True productivity is rare. One fills the calendar, the other fills your life. The choice is not between being productive or lazy, it is between pretending to live and actually living. Number 9. The echo chamber of your mind. The digital world doesn't just show you information, it shapes the walls of the room you think inside. Every click, every like, every share becomes a signal, and algorithms, they listen. They take notes. They build a custom echo chamber around you so that every time you look up, you see the same reflection. It feels comfortable. Every headline agrees with your worldview. Every opinion matches your own. Every story confirms what you already believe. You start to mistake familiarity for truth and repetition for reality. The danger is subtle but deep. When your mind only hears echoes, it stops seeking new voices. You forget that the world is bigger than your feed. The edges of your thinking shrink until you can't imagine anyone living differently, thinking differently, or seeing the world through another lens. Digital minimalism is not just about turning off your phone, it's about breaking the glass walls of the echo chamber. It's about walking into conversations where you might be wrong. It's about listening without the need to answer, and reading without the need to agree. One way to do this is deliberate disruption. Follow someone whose ideas challenge you. Read a book from a perspective you dislike. Visit a place where your beliefs are not the default. At first, it will feel uncomfortable, even threatening, but that's how you know you've stepped outside the chamber. Because the truth is not always loud. Sometimes it's whispered from the far side of the room in a voice you've never heard before. And if your walls are too high, you will never hear it. In the silence between opinions, in the space where you are not being fed what you want to hear, you might finally discover what you need to hear. And that is where growth lives. Not in the safety of echoes, but in the courage to let them fade away. Number 10. The false urgency trap. Every vibration in your pocket feels important. Every red notification dot looks like a tiny emergency. And every time you see the words breaking news, your pulse rises just a little. This is not an accident. The digital world thrives on urgency, not real urgency, but the illusion of it. Platforms are designed to make you believe that if you don't check right now, you'll miss something vital. That a late reply means failure. That a delayed click means you're falling behind. But stop for a moment and ask yourself how many of these urgent moments actually matter a week from now. How many will you even remember? False urgency steals your attention in small, constant cuts. It trains your brain to jump at every sound, every pop-up, every flicker. And over time, you become like a soldier in a war that doesn't exist. Always on alert, always waiting for the next attack that never comes. Digital minimalism asks a harder question. What if you could take back that space? What if you could choose when to respond instead of being pulled like a puppet by every alert? Try this: turn off non-essential notifications for 1 week. At first, you will feel anxious, as if you've cut a lifeline. But soon, the constant twitch will fade. You'll notice silence returning, and with it, control. Urgency should be earned. It should be reserved for true emergencies, not manufactured ones. When everything is breaking news, nothing truly breaks through. In a life stripped of false alarms, you'll discover a strange truth: most of the world can wait. The conversation will still be there in an hour. The news will still be there tonight. And the friend who needs you most will call, not text. When you slow the pace of your attention, you also slow the pace of your life. And that's when you start living on your own time, not theirs. Number 11. The illusion of infinite choice. Open any streaming app, any online store, any social feed, and the choices stretch out endlessly. 1,000 movies, 10,000 products, millions of videos waiting to be watched. At first glance, it feels like freedom. You can have anything. But here's the paradox. When everything is possible, nothing feels satisfying. The brain becomes restless, always wondering if there's something better just one click away. You pick a movie and stop halfway thinking another one might be more exciting. You start reading an article, but open 3 more tabs before finishing the first paragraph. This is the trap of infinite choice. It doesn't expand your life, it scatters it. Every decision carries a whisper of regret. Was that the right choice? Did I miss something better? And so you scroll and you search and you keep looking, but rarely land. Digital minimalism offers a different path. Instead of drowning in endless options, you set gentle boundaries. Maybe you choose one news source to trust, one streaming service to enjoy, or a small library of books to keep. And then you commit, not forever, just for now. There is a strange relief in limitation. When the options shrink, your mind stops wandering and starts engaging. The show you pick becomes the show, not just filler before the next one. The conversation you have becomes the moment, not background noise for your next scroll. In truth, infinite choice is not real freedom. It's a distraction dressed as abundance. Real freedom comes from choosing what matters and letting the rest fade quietly into the background. When you no longer chase the best possible in every moment, you create space for the present possible, the moment that's here in front of you right now. And you'll find that the fewer doors you keep open, the more fully you can walk through the one that matters. Number 12. The quiet power of doing nothing. We live in a culture that fears stillness. Every pause feels like a gap that must be filled. Waiting for the bus. Check your phone. Sitting in a cafe. Scroll through messages. Even lying in bed at night, the silence becomes unbearable, so you reach for one more video, one more post, one more dose of noise. But here's the secret: the mind needs emptiness the way lungs need air. Without moments of stillness, our thoughts never settle. We mistake constant activity for progress, when in reality it's just motion without direction. Doing nothing, truly nothing, is not laziness. It is an act of resistance in a world addicted to busyness. When you allow yourself to sit without input, your brain begins to sort, to process, to connect the dots in ways you can't when you're distracted. The ancient philosophers knew this. Monks know this. Artists know this. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history came not during frantic work, but during quiet walks, idle afternoons, and moments when the mind was free to wander without a goal. Digital minimalism protects this space. It asks you to reclaim small pockets of nothingness, a few minutes in the morning, before the phone a short break in the afternoon, without checking email, an evening walk with no headphones, no screen, no agenda. At first it feels uncomfortable, like withdrawal from a drug. Your mind will itch for stimulation, reaching for the familiar glow. But if you stay with the discomfort, it transforms into clarity. You start to notice details you've ignored, the sound of rain against a window, the texture of the air, the rhythm of your own breathing. In these quiet spaces, your thoughts become sharper, your feelings clearer. You begin to realize that not every moment needs to be filled. Some moments are meant to be empty because it's in the emptiness that you finally have room to hear yourself. Doing nothing is not a waste of time. It's how you make time worth living. We've walked through 12 truths, fragments of a larger pattern. Each one is small enough to miss, yet heavy enough to bend the shape of your days. They do not shout for your attention. They whisper, and the longer you listen, the more you realize how deep their roots go. These are not just ideas. They are the quiet forces pulling at your choices, your thoughts, the way you see yourself when no one is looking. Some are born from convenience, others from fear, and some from a kind of hunger we mistake for connection. You might close this video and carry on as before. Most people do. But somewhere between the noise and the silence, these 12 pieces will wait for you. The question is not whether they matter. The question is, when will you notice?